Good evening, everybody. My name is John Carew. Today is the 22nd of August, and I'm here in the home of Billy and Mary Leo. Billy comes from a well-known farming family in the area, and I think you were telling me, Billy, that the town's land here is Ballinagallach.
That's right. Ballinagalla is they call it Ballinagallach, but officially it's Ballinagalla. And it's just outside the parish bounds of Knockcaney and Lough Gur. And it goes down as far as the bounds again on the Lough Gur Holy Cross Road.
And your family has farmed here for 5, maybe 6 generations.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 generations of the Leos farming here. There was my son, myself, my father, my grandfather, my granduncle, and I believe there were people before that, but I can't quote as to who they were. Yeah. They were probably my granduncle's parents.
And your granduncle was married and had no family?
My granduncle was married and had no family. He was married to a woman from Donoghal by the name of Cross in County Tipperary. And he wanted to leave the farm to his nephew, and she wanted to leave it to her niece. So the compromise was that they'd make a match between the nephew and the niece. And that's my lineage from there on.
So that's your father and mother?
That's my grandfather and grandmother.
Your grandfather and your grandmother.
Yeah.
So, and you think that they may have lived above in the house where Brazers now?
Yeah, they originally
and built this house here.
They originally lived there, and this house was built by the fella they used to call the big man, that they had no family. This house was originally down at the back of my brother's place, Paddy's, and they knocked it, and they brought all the stones and the roof, and reconstructed the house up here. Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a peculiar thing to do, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, your own farming career started, I suppose, you left school at a young age.
I did, I suppose. Truth be told, I left too young, and I knew nothing else, only to start doing this thing and stay at it, yeah.
And of course, Billy, over the years you've seen huge changes in farming.
I have, yeah. I remember the hay being cut now with a horse and a finger bar mower, 2 horses. The hay was tumbled or turned by what we called a kicker, and there was a side delivery rack for turning it. Then you rode it, what was known as the wheel rack, and you brought it in to make wines or cocks out of it with the tumbler, or it was a tumbler, was a timber one, and what was the other one? There was a name for the iron one anyhow. Yeah. The spikes at either side of it was dangerous yoke to use.
The one with the round spikes in it.
Yeah.
And
the skeeter. That was the skeeter. That's what that was called, the skeeter, yeah. And when the wines were made in, you drew them in with the hay float. And the hay float was a kind of a big timber cart with a flat floor on it and a piece of aluminium or tin at the back of it. And it tipped up, and 2 men, one at either side of the front of the floor, would ratchet it, and the wine would come up along the hay float, and when it came to the top, to go back down, and then they'd lock it.
The balance would swing.
The balance would swing, yeah.
And would it only take one wind in, Billy?
Yeah. One wind at a time, yeah.
And that would be brought in and either made into a reek or piked into a barn?
Into a hay barn. Well, I remember into a hay barn. I remember making reeks as well. Yeah. And I remember making what they used to call a sheeg. The reek was like a big wine. But the sheeg was longer. Narrow and long, yeah.
And of course, very, very hard physical work.
Yeah, it was, but just like that's the way it was. You know no better, you just did it, and that was it. Yeah. Simple as that, yeah.
And did you do tillage, Billy?
Well, so the tillage was done here during the war and just after it, like in the 1946 and 7. Everyone had to do tillage. Yeah. And tillage had to be done, of course, if you go back far enough then. At the time of the famine, everyone had to do tillage because that was the only way people had of paying the rent. It was the corn and the oats, the wheat, oats, barley, and that they paid the rent for.
Okay.
So everybody did tillage then as well.
Yeah. And did your father and maybe your grandfather, did they have cows, or were you kind of the first to get into cows?
No, my grandfather had cows, and his uncle before him had cows, yeah. And my father had cows, and then
they all have to be milked by hand. And there was probably milk girls or milkmaids.
There was, yeah, there were local women who was come to milk the cows, that's right,
cows,
yeah. Yeah. I know some of them actually, they're gone now, long gone. But I know some of the women who was to milk cows here for my grandfather, yeah.
Yeah.
I did indeed, yeah.
And then, because you probably were the one that introduced the milking machine and...
No.
No?
No, my father had that done. He was sort of mechanical.
Okay.
Even before we got the electricity came in, he used to have a petrol engine. And he worked the milk machine off of that. And he used to pump in the yard with a petrol engine as well.
Right.
So.
And would he have had a tractor, or would you have introduced the tractor?
No, he had a tractor, yeah.
He had a tractor?
Yeah, when I was very small, I remember him getting a tractor.
Getting
Yeah.
But still probably worked the horses alongside it?
Oh yeah, the funny thing about it was, even I'd say up to the 60s, the tractor we brought out in April and we put into the shed once the potatoes were dug, and the potato digger was put away and the tractor was put into the shed for the winter. And it was the horse that did the work across the winter then.
Okay.
So all you did in was fill the load of hay and take it out and during the winter and throw it out in the field, and the cows ate it away.
And the cows would have been wintered outdoors?
Outdoors,
Yeah. And what about the creamery then? Did you go to Herberstown, or did you go up here to Tullabracky? Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Tullabracky, but my father used to Tullabracky be recent enough now. My father's time it was built, he used to have to go to Greybridge, and he had to go twice a day. They wanted the milk fresh all the time.
Right.
So the milk went, there was no way cooling milk, so the milk went hot, morning and evening.
Oh, very good.
To Greybridge.
And in his time, would the creamery have been running over in Herberstown, in Patrick's Well over the road here?
No. That was gone at that stage. There was the condensed milk company, and I think the co-op was started over in Herberstown.
At that time.
What the creamery was used for back in those days, when my father was younger, was for players. They used to do plays during Lent,
Right.
and they used to put on a play every Lent there in the creamery.
And do you remember that building standing, Billy?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I remember it being half knocked, which was half standing. That's sort of what I remember about it now.
And did it fall naturally, or was it the stone used out of it, do you think?
I'd say the stone was used out of it. There's still a concrete base over there. It seems to be, yeah.
They are going in over.
Yeah, there was 3 or 4 fellas working on that one time. Like there was.
And we'll come back to the players in a few minutes. We'll tip on with the farming for a minute.
Right.
So you really modernised the farm then in your day?
I suppose I did some bit.
Yeah.
Sean modernised it more.
Yeah.
The last few years.
Yeah, but you had got into the paddock system and...
Oh, I had done, tried to anyhow, shall we say.
Yeah. And of course that was a big improvement.
Well, it was different sort of system of farming, and fertiliser allowed you to milk a few more cows and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
But having said that, like, it was all extra work as well.
Well, yeah.
John.
Yeah. And now the social life, it took the bull tank coming to the farms then. The creamery closed.
The creameries went, and everybody got the milk collected from home. Yeah, that you don't hear the news anymore. Like,
especially for...
God be good to 95 FM and RIP.ie. It's your only hope now.
Yeah. But of course, just the creamery and the social side of it, and especially a lot of farmers were bachelors and they lived in isolated places, so probably the creamery was an awful lot to those people.
Oh, it was, of course, yeah, but sure, they were gone anyhow. Most of the... I suppose about 1/5 of the people that milked cows are now milking cows. Yeah. 1/5 of the farms that milk cows are actually now dairy farming. Yeah. The rest are gone.
Yeah.
And the number of places where nobody took over is increasing yearly.
Yeah. But of course, as you say, even 1/5, I'd say, is being generous.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, when you look around here, even when I was young, how many farms were there with places with cows? Anything from 2-3 cows up to 50-60 cows.
Well, 99% of the land they would have milked cows on them, yeah. Very, very few didn't have cows, yeah.
And now you could nearly, in this area, you could count the amount of farmers milking cows in one hand.
You could, there are a good number of farmers milking cows around here. You go away from here, it's even less.
Right.
You go back towards Mianus direction, out there's less and less.
Yeah.
Go up towards Knockany, there's less and less. Go up towards Elton, there's very few.
And do you think that is going to improve or get worse?
Oh, you'll have less and less.
Yeah.
Sure, nobody wants to work 7 days a week, for
No,
God's sake.
no.
It's kind of stupid stuff,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And of course, all the young people now, they want computers and...
Yeah, well, there's a different lifestyle, and there's more of a...
Yeah.
They call it a work-life balance.
Yeah.
And they're right too, God's sake.
In ways, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. You could, I'd say with the new environmental thing that's coming in now, you will see a semi-shortage of food in Europe. And that will create a bigger shortage of food in places like Africa and places. If we have to start buying food in the future, or start buying grain and things now from places like Ukraine, you will see Africa will suffer an awful lot.
Yeah.
So there's a downside to everything, you know.
Yeah. And of course, Billy, as you said, you came on at a time when you cut the hay and with a horse and what have you, and then it was all knock the ditches, put down paddocks, fertilizer, and farmers were encouraged to do this, and now
they're encouraged to change back a small bit again to more organic type of farming. That's true.
They're being penalised now for even some of the work they were encouraged to do.
They are, but see, everything works in extremes.
Yeah.
Agriculture did go to the extreme with the pushing of fertilizers and the pushing of slurry. And you now need more facilities to store your slurry and only spread it during good growing seasons. I know it's done by calendar, it's not ideal, but there probably isn't another way of doing it.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of environmental damage done.
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
There was.
And
That was basically through lack of investment in infrastructure.
Yeah.
That farmers didn't have the money to put it in anyhow.
Yes. And then there was marginal land that was drained and probably shouldn't have been, and there was other uses for it.
Yeah, if you go way up to Mayo into the Cady fields and all like that, was all excellent land one time, and they just walked it to the stage where it went into a bog. So you have, and the climate's changed.
And climate change.
Yeah.
And of course the burn was the same, wasn't it? That was, that was forested at one stage.
It probably was, yeah.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about the burn, like they decided there some years ago that they take all cattle off the burn, and it began to deteriorate quite a considerable amount. Apparently the cattle play a big part.
They do, and the system of grazing that they have there,
the grasses would take over and kill an awful lot of wildflower and things.
And if anywhere you live will rewild, and and it was beginning to rewild in places, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw that myself one time. We went out there with the Historical Society out to a place there on the Shannon Estuary, Scattery Island. And there was a little village out there one time, and basically these fellas were the pilots for the Shannon ships going in, and that's how they made their living. But of course they all left the island. But the Office of Public Works decided that there was going to be no animals allowed in the island. Just the briars took over. Absolute briars. It's just kind of a wilderness now, which is beneficial to nothing or no, and not even wildlife. Yeah. So there's always a balance. Like.
So, you need a balance.
You do, yeah.
So moving on a bit from the farming, Billy, of course, you were also a great community man, involved in a lot of the organisations around. You were talking about the Historical Society there, and you also mentioned the drama. Of course, Billy Leo's name is, talk about Lough Gur Amateur Dramatic Society. The first name that will come up is the great Billy Leo. You played some great characters down through the years. What was your favourite character to play, Billy?
This is good. I want things to great. Great now is not a word I'd put in front of my name at all. I suppose I think perhaps the Year of the Hiker might be one of the big ones.
One of the big ones, yeah.
Yeah, when I played the part of the hiker.
Yeah.
And then there was things like Professor Tim, and the field, of course, was fantastic, and Sive.
Yeah. Sive, yeah. You were wonderful. I always think of the field, and God, my head is gone now. What was your character again? The bird. The bird. Wonderful performance as the bird.
We had a good old cast there, all right. We put it on. That was my second time doing it. I did it back in the 70s as well.
Yeah.
The first time I did it,
Yeah.
and played the bird as well, and did it again there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, with Seamus Dooley.
Yeah.
Actually, we spoke to Tom Tierney about the field there earlier.
All right, yeah.
And he
And
spoke.
he was involved in the last play now. That was the wheel.
In there?
Yeah. They did the wheel there this year, wasn't it?
No. There this year.
Oh, this year, the wheel last year.
Yeah.
And we did that back some 15 or 16 years
The
ago.
wheel.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
We did. And Tom was in it as well back
Yeah,
then.
that's
That's his second time doing
his
part in
second.
the wheel.
With a different
He did a
character.
different
this
part, yeah. He
Yeah.
did, yeah. That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So, and of course, the Historical Society involved in that.
Involved in that as well, yeah. So Michael Quinlan was the architect of all these, God be good to him.
Yeah.
The first organisation that I was involved in, and you won't remember this now, but it was Lough Gur Pony Club.
Oh.
And it all kind of started by accident in a way that Tim Crow had a horse and he made out he was better than the horse that my sister Deborah had here. And John Reardon had another horse and they decided to come here and have a race. So Mike Sheehan down decided he'd join him. So the two lads knowing the place here well, they decided when they get down the hill, they get into the lower part of the land and they get in front of Tim and Mike and they destroy him with mud. So the two boys were blinded so they couldn't beat him. So they objected. And Tim Crow said, we'll go to my place next Sunday, he said, and we'll have a fair race. So on hearing that anyhow, Gerard Leo and Tullabrackie hacked down and Conor Hanley from Herbestown came over from Herbestown. And Eddie Keoghan brought two horses from Kilfrush. He was working over on the stables in Kilfrush at the time. So there was 7 or 8 or 10 horses there like for a finish. And I suppose 50 cars pulled up. People always went down to the lake of a Sunday in Lough Gur, and this was winter time. But they pulled up and they were looking at the race. And Johnny Coffey, the Lord Master, took off his cap and he said, we'll have to get a prize for the winner. And he went round to all the people standing in the ditches and he got their pennies and their half crowns or whatever they gave. And he actually bought a prize for that. Then somebody said, we'll form a club. So there was a meeting held over in Tim Crow's house. And we used to hold, every 3 weeks, we would hold races. And we used to make hurdles. And we had flat racing then for the ponies and hurdles for the jumpers. We did that for 3 or 4 years under the foot and mouth came out there. I think it was in 67 or 8. Or was it 66? But that stopped it anyhow. And it never kind of took off again.
Yeah.
You know. So that was the first organisation.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I've heard of the pony racing, but I don't remember it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all everyone from around Lough Gur and Holy Cross were involved in it. Too. Official starters and finishers and small Tom Carroll over at the well. He was the what he was called the photo finisher. He put his eye behind the post, and he was the photo finish. Yeah.
So great fun had a day.
There was, yeah. And somebody got on and talked to you one time, and I remember they arrived in a blue Vols or a blue Cortina station wagon. They were Dublin fellas. And they never saw a horse or a field before in their life. So we were all put to gallop around, and the flat horses were thrown inside, and the jumpers were thrown outside, where they had to jump the hurdles. But somebody decided they wanted to get their face on the camera first. So instead of finishing, they turned for the camera. And if they did, 30 horses turned for the camera. But I never see 3 fellas to jump a ditch as fast and hop. I don't think RT came to Lough Gur for about 20 years after.
There's always someone, isn't there?
There's always someone there is, yeah.
And Billy, you're a man now, a farming man, so you would have been up early in the morning, maybe cows calving or whatever, and maybe late at night. And of course, Lough Gur is famous for, its folklore and connected with the fairies and all odd kind of characters. Have you ever met any of them on your travels?
I've never met him, but I've met a good few people who claim to have met him. But they all seem to have been coming from a hostelry when they met him. So you can take that one with a grain of salt, I think. Who I did meet now, I remember saving hay with fellas. And you would never have met anyone that fought in the War of Independence.
No, I would not.
And Seven here one day with a man, O'Brien, Bat O'Brien was his name.
I remember Pat
I
O'Brien.
remember Bat below here.
Yeah.
But in 1920, on St. Stephen's Night 1920 in Cargilmer, when the lads were shot back there,
Yes.
Bat was doing sentry duty. And he handed over the rifle to Volunteer Wade 15 minutes before the tanks came. And Wade was shot dead. So Bat was a lucky man to be alive. If he had held that rifle for another 15 minutes, he would have been killed.
He would have been killed.
He would, yeah. So they were my uncles and all were there, and my aunts, they were all taken to jail in England.
And when you were growing up, can you remember a lot of that talk going on and them stories?
You wouldn't get an awful lot from them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't talk an awful lot about it.
Yeah.
Something they kind of hid, like, and
Yeah.
just that they'd say they were in jail and the conditions were very rough, and
Right.
but they did get a ferocious beating inside in Limerick.
Yeah.
Once they went to England, it wasn't too bad. The conditions were bad, but by and large, the old prison wardens were okay.
Okay.
You know.
But they got it worse here in Ireland.
But they got an awful beating in Limerick and in Tullabracky. They were made run the gauntlet
Oh yeah.
in behind as they went to the truck in the morning, and they took the banisters off the stairs to beat them with them.
And was there uncles of yours arrested and
There were two of my uncles arrested, yeah.
and went to England?
They were in jail in England, yeah, until after the War of Independence.
Right.
Yeah.
But didn't talk much about it then.
No, well,
That seems to be a phenomenon of people that have fought in wars and
that's
everything.
right, yeah. And I met a lot of women that were down on. My aunts were down, a lot of other women that were on. They were treated fairly bad too, and a lot of things happened there that they never spoke about.
Yeah.
Especially the women. I mean, the truth will never be known what actually happened there, you know. Because they did say that they had brought out some women to search the women, but there weren't enough women to search them all, shall we say?
Yeah.
So things got a bit hectic at times, all right, yeah.
They were terrible times, weren't they?
They were, yeah. So Martin Conway was shot there now, and Harry Wade.
He was one of the Conways from here in Holy Cross.
He was, yeah. He was a captain in the area. He used to sleep here in that time when he was on the run.
Right.
This was kind of a safe house, yeah. Yeah, and the local hospital then, even though nobody from Limerick now will be in this hospital, was where Mike Sheehan is living now.
It was a hospital.
A hospital for wounded area volunteers, yeah.
Mike here behind.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a hospital, but they'd come from Cork or from Tipperary.
Right.
And what you'd have are a few nurses there. You see, Mike's place was owned by a doctor.
Oh.
And he had a caretaker, a herdsman living there. This doctor was in Dublin, he had contacts.
Right.
And he used to see nurses here, and a visiting doctor would call occasionally.
Right.
But nobody from Limerick, if you were wounded and you were from Limerick, like you would be sent to Cork or to Clare or someplace.
Yeah, keep you away from the area.
Yeah.
That's what I never knew that.
Didn't you?
No.
And the nurses now would have been from far away as well.
Yeah.
The only fella that would have known would have been the caretaker down there or the herdsman.
Right.
And he would do his shopping in different places. He wouldn't buy a lot of stuff in one place, but he might shop in Holy Cross today and Helbestown tomorrow and go up to Knockany the day after.
So as they wouldn't say,
he was buying too much stuff for a bachelor living by himself.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you'd never think of those things, would you?
Well, they all had to be thought of, yeah.
Because there was probably spies everywhere, like.
Oh, well, sure, that's actually how they knew where the dance was.
Yeah.
Because the people who were going to that dance that night did not know where the dance was. About 6 to 7 people actually knew where the band that were playing did not know where they were playing. Right. So people left, and people around here were told go towards Helbestown. Halfway to Helbestown, they were told turn back and go to Holy Cross. Went to Holy Cross, they were told go down to Grange, and into Grange they were told go back towards Rockbarton. People come from Yanis were told different things.
So there was someone inside gave the information.
The story is told that a volunteer from Lough Gur went with some information to Martin Conway, and that Martin Conway was at the place. And when he went back home, he said to his mother, there's something queer going on down there. And his mother was going to Cork the following day, and she was friendly with people in Cork. And she said they're planning something peculiar. But the people she said it to were very au fait with the authorities, and they passed it on. So I'd imagine they had lookouts watching the press for a good while, yeah. Because they came from a couple of different directions, like there was no way out. They came from both there where John Kinney is, and they came from Grange as well.
Yeah. There was no escape.
No escape, no. No. There was
And
no escape.
You might just say that again, sorry, you're just the last line. There was no escape, I think you were saying, is it?
Yes, they came from both sides of the Great House.
Yeah.
They came from the Rockbarton side and they came from the Grange side.
Yeah.
And they had it well planned. They got out of their trucks in Fedamore and walked. The Tans walked from Fedamore.
It's a fair old walk.
It was, yeah. So they knew exactly what they were doing.
Right.
So they must have had some very good information.
Yeah. And is it true that the IRA were advised to cancel the?
Yeah, there was a sergeant in the PSNI, or which is the PSNI, so, in the RIC,
Yeah.
who was sort of au fait with the Republican cause. And he passed on a message to a shopkeeper in Bruff, a Republican in Bruff, who would have been friendly with the IRA, and he knew that, and he just said, tell him cancel that dance. But they thought the thing was so secure that they didn't know. And in any event, they thought it was just a couple of RIC fellas from Bruff that would raid it. They didn't expect them to come out from the barracks in Limerick.
Right.
And they came from Pellis and Tipperary. And the reprisal then, of course, was the ambush in Drunkean. But there was none of the local fellas here involved in that. They were all in jail.
Yeah.
But there was people from down around Carrick and Lish and
Involved in that.
yeah.
Yeah. And of course, at one stage there was an RIC barracks in the Lough. Did you know that?
Never had that.
Oh yeah. Do you know the stone building that's there, John Coleman's site there?
Yeah, when they try and just keep the pigs.
Yes.
Yes.
That was an RIC barracks.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
there's a station there. I never knew
Yeah.
that now. No.
Yeah. I don't know what years it closed, but yeah, definitely.
I know they had one in Grange.
Yeah. The first that I was told about that was Bill Ham told me that.
Oh,
But,
right,
yeah. Yeah. And Mary O'Donnell used to use it as a store for the shop.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, let's come back away. There was a big
Yeah.
shop there then, yeah.
Yeah. She used to do grain and everything,
That's
used
right,
she?
yeah, I remember that shop.
Yeah.
opened, yeah.
Yeah.
I do indeed.
But that was an RIC barracks, I believe.
All right.
So
Yeah, there was one in Grange, there was one in Herberstown, there was one in Kilteely, there was one back there, the Chrome Road, one in Elton.
Yeah, of course. They had to be, hadn't they? Because there was no squad cars or anything like that time.
Well, if you want to find out where most agitation was in the country, go back into the old RIC records and find out where the most RIC stations were. You had Limerick, North Cork, and parts of Tipperary. That's where the most agitation. The whole freedom fighting thing was basically Munster based. And most of the Republicans were Munster based because, and the sad thing of all, of course, is the Civil War. Munster was the last place to fall. They were very Republican in Munster, as opposed to Connacht and Ulster,
Right.
or Leinster rather.
Yeah.
And there are more RIC stations in Limerick, partly this part of Limerick, more so even than West Limerick.
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought Kerry would be one of the hot spots.
Yeah, the Kingdom. It would have been fairly hot, all right.
But you reckon this
But yeah,
area?
This area here
Yeah.
had a huge number of RIC
Yeah.
stations, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge number. Yeah, you know, you'd Bruff, you'd Kilmallock, you'd Kilfinnan, and then you'd all the smaller ones all around, like I said,
Yeah.
from Elton to Kilteely to Herberstown, like
Yeah.
places where there is
Well,
none
as I
now.
said to you, Billy, I never knew this until a few years back, and it was Billy Hammond that told me that it was
All right,
yeah,
I never know that now.
that building was.
All right, a police station.
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
And Billy, just before I let you go, then you were mentioning to me there earlier before we started to speak about the new road that was built during the famine here to Bruff, and then the old road, and that old road up by the pike that would be bounds on your land.
Told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the old road. I suppose that was only originally a pathway that was widened, and that went down then. There, I think, round the stone circle, in front of the stone circle, and went straight down by Casey's ditch to the old road and Grange. That was the original.
And out below the hamlet.
Out below the hamlet, yeah, that was the original. And that's the new road as well, from Casey's down to the hamlet.
That's
From Casey's down to
and that was built during the famine, you reckon?
They're all famine roads, yeah.
That's it, yeah. And you were saying then, because I was saying that this was only a donkey and cart road, but you were saying the people that gave the land gave it at one side and
they were allowed to narrow the road, the old road.
to get back the amount of land.
Well, they didn't get it all back, but they got some bit back.
Some bit back, yeah.
So it seems.
And of course, that little road by the pike now is tarred and done for walkers and.
Which is well used actually. An awful lot of people.
Yeah.
An awful lot of people walk a job.
Yeah, of course, it's very safe rather than being on the main road.
Oh well, yeah. There's no traffic on it, so there's no cars, like.
And you have a footpath then from into Brough.
You can actually walk from Holy Cross to Brough now safely, quite safe, yeah.
Yeah, quite
You can, yeah.
So, Billy, in all your years, you've seen a lot of changes in farming and in the area, and people coming in, and a lot of the great characters gone, and.
Actually, all the characters gone. There was some great old characters there. Yeah, they are gone, yes, and their likes will never again be seen, but howsoever.
And I suppose the rural pub going was a big loss. In that sense.
It was. I think it is. I was involved with the soccer club now in Knockcaney, and we used to do a lot of draw every second week, and we might go to 12 or 14 different pubs
In the area.
in rotation. Yeah. There are 1, 2, 3, 8 of those pubs closed.
Yeah.
There's 2 gone in Elton. You've the cellar is gone. You've 2 gone Westgorton Hospital. You've 2 in Brough.
There's only about. Is there how many pubs in Brough now? 3, is it?
There's 3 pubs left in Brough now.
There must have been 8 or 9 at one stage.
1 second now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there was 8 and there's only 3 left, yeah.
And every town is the same, sure.
Yeah, every place is the same, but I suppose the thing has changed.
And we see Kilteely now that the local people have formed a co-op and bought out the.
That's right, after buying it off the Helms, yeah.
Or else it was gone.
Or else it was gone, yeah. And that pub now, you're just talking about RSC stations. That was an RSC station. The Helms pub in Kilteely. Part of it. And I actually saw it lately. Donny showed me where the RSC station was. And you'll see the big room upstairs where they had a dormitory where all the coppers would sleep. Yeah.
And that's the big problem with rural Ireland now. The local shops are gone. The forge is gone. The post offices are gone. Lucky to hold on to our schools, I suppose.
But sure, whose fault is it? Only the people. It's their own fault. They can stop complaining about it. They stop using the post office. Right? They stopped using the local bank.
Stopped using the shops.
Stopped using the shops. All went into
Super Value.
LD, Lidley, LD, Doodley, whatever you call them. And, you know, yeah, so that's it.
Yeah.
That's the reason they're closed. If people use them, they'll still be opened.
Probably would, yeah. So, Billy, it was lovely chatting with you.
Pleasure of mine.
Before you wrap it up, John, I wonder, it's kind of a question for me, but I might get John to ask it just because your voice has been a John. You might ask him about the future, just about maybe the farm and what you'd hope for. You might ask him something along those lines, John.
So, Billy, I suppose you won't mind me saying you're coming to retirement, probably. Well, you'll never retire until, but, it's up to the next generation now. And the generations to come. What do you see the future for farming and indeed the wider community here in Lough Gur?
Right, you say I'm retirement. I'm well past my sell by date now, John. I think.
I think there's another old kick in you there, Billy.
Less people will be farming. You will have farm workers coming from Africa. And I suppose for a while from Eastern Europe until they become wealthier, and just like the people in Poland, they'll all go back home. And that'll be the future. You'll have big tracts of land again like you had before.
Yeah. And of course, those people are you know, from Africa and Eastern European countries have arrived already.
Well, they're here from Eastern Europe, yeah.
And,
But like, I mean, they were here from Poland 10 years ago.
yeah,
The Polish economy now, they're saying will be as big as the UK economy in the next 10 or 12 years.
yeah,
So they're going to be going back.
Yeah.
And you'll have people come from Africa and just was people come from Asia.
yeah. And then for the community itself,
That's the 6 marker. If they stop, which they want to stop, are people building houses in rural Ireland will really die. Because the backbone of a community is not the wildlife, it's the people who live in it. And if they stop people living in rural Ireland, it will die. But so long as there are people, things will go on. And never underestimate the ability of a group of people when they get together to achieve something. I've learned that down through the years. From the time we started the Pony Club, there was nothing, and all of a sudden there was 30 or 40 people involved, and they made it happen. And I see we had a little hall over there in Lough Gur, we turned it into a theatre.
right,
Well,
yeah,
that was done by local people.
yeah. And even as late as last Saturday,
I saw that.
we painted it and
saw that.
and it turned out nice.
Yeah, and you know,
And that was just local people.
yeah, never underestimate the ability of people. That is one thing I have learned.
Yeah,
Not much else now, but that is one thing I have learned.
yeah. And of course, the local community and neighbours are the backbone of that community.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And-
As my father used to say, the relations are for weddings and funerals, the neighbours are for every day.
And it's when they won't bother you most, but it's when you're in trouble, you can turn on them.
That's right, yeah. That's
Yeah.
it, yeah. That's it. They're a good old neighbourhood, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Billy. Lovely chatting with you.
That's all my pleasure.
And continued success in your farming. And of course, I'll be looking forward to seeing you on stage very soon again.
With the help of God, yeah.
And I might add one question before I leave you alone, Billy. Would you, like you mentioned how your farm has been in your family for generations, and you've mentioned how the kind of things are changing as well. Would you hope that your family or I think you've 2 sons, was it you said, or?
2 sons, 1 is farming.
Yeah. Would you hope that there's someone in your family in future generations farming here, or are you happy for them to do their own thing, or how would you like to see that in the future?
Well, sure, you'll have to let the crow fly. So, whatever way the crow flies, hopefully they will continue and stay. But sure, if they don't, they don't. As simple as that.
Fair enough. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks very much, Billy. Were you happy enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, man, good.
If there's any last thing you want to say, we give everyone a chance. If there's any last story or memory or anything you want to throw in there, you're more than welcome. You covered a lovely range of things there.
Yeah, I don't think so.